You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. Alright, welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode number 119.
Pentagon released UFO videos, Georgia Bigfoot conference recap, and Western North Carolina UFOs.
Yeah.
Load that. Yeah. What?
So welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. So it begins again. This is episode number 119. If it's your very first time tuning into this podcast, what's this podcast all about?
Well, broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our CreepGeeks Bunker Studio in the mountains of Western North Carolina. We're an offbeat news podcast that takes a lighthearted approach to the strange, the stupid, paranormal, and tech topics circulating the web.
Yes, and you can actually call and leave the show a message if you'd like to share. That number is 1-575-208-4025. That's my robot voice. And you can actually support the podcast. And it's basically with little to no effort on your part, won't cost you anything at all. And basically what it boils down to is when you shop Amazon.com, you can use our affiliate link and we get a small percentage. Doesn't change your price at all, and it helps us keep the coffee flowing and gas in the Albino Rhino. So yeah, you go and you buy something by using that link, and then there you go. That's it.
And that link is amazon.com/shop/CheapGeek.
Yes, and if you can't remember that, since we post our show notes everywhere we do our podcast, you can basically click the link and do it right there at your leisure.
Yes.
Yes. So we very much appreciate people tuning into the podcast. You can find us on Google, as in Google Play Music, Google Podcasts. You can find us on Apple, as in Apple Podcasts, and iTunes, and SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Spotify, Stitcher. Basically, anywhere you can receive a podcast, you can receive our podcast. And for those that listen in all those different places, we very much appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you do find us on one of those places and like the podcast, go ahead and leave us a review. We've put a link to the Apple Podcasts in the show notes. Give us a review, some feedback. We appreciate it. Giving reviews actually helps podcasts grow.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
Yes.
Very, very nice. So as we do with our podcast, we do like to start off with an interesting random factoid. And the first factoid is this. Today, at the time of this recording, is National Paranormal Day.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And according to what the internet says, with National Paranormal Day being May 3rd, May 3rd is National Paranormal Day. Each year, this day, all people who believe in paranormal activities are encouraged to get together and share their experiences with each other. And if you didn't know, paranormal is a term used to describe occurrences that can't be explained by ordinary scientific measures. They are outside the norm. As in normal, right? And even those who don't believe in the paranormal can participate in National Paranormal Day. There are a wide variety of movies, documentaries, and science fiction books and television shows specializing in this genre. Yeah. So there you go. So how do you observe it? Well, according to this, you use a hashtag, National Paranormal Day, to post on social medias. So there you go. That's how you observe the National Paranormal Day. And just so you know, we did exactly that. Because we do post our podcast, which you can find on Twitter at CreepGeeks Pod. And also you can find it on Instagram at CreepGeeks Pod. Is that what it is on Instagram? CreepGeeks Podcast? I can't remember. But anyway, if you do the CreepGeeks, you'll find us on the Instagram, where we did post an amazing picture that was taken at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. And by Georgia Bigfoot Conference, I mean the dinner that we had after the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. Yes. And since we were there with M&D Paranormal and eating dinner with M&D Paranormal, you were going to say something?
Oh, Instagram, the URL, or the username is creep_geeks.
Ah. So you can find us on Instagram at creep_geeks.
But if you just type CreepGeeks Podcast, apparently we've hit enough metrics that you'll find us.
Yes, the metrics. So this picture we actually took when we were eating dinner at this Mexican restaurant, which I really cannot pronounce, has a weird anomaly
Anomaly.
No anomaly. Yeah. And if you want to know how to spell anomaly, the easy way to spell it is anal oh my. Did you know that?
That's...
Okay, hold on. I'm Greg, one of your hosts, and Omi, the other host, is going to fact check me.
Yeah, and I just did.
And am I right?
No.
Really?
Not even close.
Okay, what is it then? That means I've been spelling anomaly wrong for a long time.
Anomaly.
Okay, there you go.
I knew it. I was like, that is not right at all. In fact, let's see. How did you spell it?
Let's just move on. Hold on. There you go. That's my spelling foul.
Do not Google this.
Yeah, no. You shouldn't. No. But we do have links in all of our show notes, so if you do want to follow along, and if you decide that you'd like to click on one of those links are safe.
Yes.
Just saying. There we go. Mm-hmm. All right, so the picture that we posted on Instagram is an interesting anomaly. It's also on our Facebook group, because we do have a Facebook group. What's that called?
CreepGeeks Facebook group.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And you can also find our podcast where we post stuff there on Facebook as well. And if you do the search for CreepGeeks, you'll find us.
CreepGeeks Podcast.
Yes, the CreepGeeks Podcast. Just CreepGeeks Podcast. There's no the in front of that. Anyway, it works out pretty good because we have a lot of active people that post lots of active things. And it's mainly human related, but there is some really good stuff that shows up there periodically. Mm-hmm. That means occasionally, just so you know. And then by occasionally, multiple times a day. So
when you hit like, make sure you also hit follow so you can get all the recent updates from us.
Yes. We are moving up in the world with followers there as well. And we also have another channel that you might be interested in that you can follow on Facebook as well. It is the Cheap Geek channel that has 60+ thousand followers and 33,000 likes, that kind of thing. Where that's primarily how to do stuff on the cheap, but also funny stuff, humor stuff, and it's got quite an active following there too. So either way, we have a little something for you at no cost to you, so you can enjoy it.
I think both pages are pretty multifaceted.
Yeah.
As far as like DIY and home solutions, as well as on the Creep Geek side, paranormal, and just looking at things from a different perspective.
Yep.
So.
Dun, dun, dun. So there you go. So anyway, our random factoid about National Paranormal Day is one of two. Mm-hmm. The second random factoid is that did you know, and I'm asking you, Omi, mm-hmm. the Eiffel Tower in Paris, I can't speak today, can grow over 6 inches taller during the summer season when heat makes the iron expand.
Huh. No, I did. I mean, I would venture like in the wintertime it would shrink because iron.
Well, you would think.
Yeah.
But it does not say that in this interesting random factoid. So I'm not exactly sure the amount of shrinkage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it said it can grow over 6 inches taller in the summer season when the heat makes the iron expand. Yes. Yeah. I know this is true because we got this from a National Geographic Kids Summertime Interesting Facts. So
no, I'm mad because my podcast notes aren't updating. So, yeah.
I don't know what that means, but we'll continue on. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. So we do have a little bit of paranormal news that we talk about, and there's a bunch of different things that we're going to talk about in this podcast. And I will be honest with you, this podcast is not going to be 2 hours long like it normally is, but it'll be long enough to take care of our business, the business of the podcast. You keep eyeballing my stuff. Do I need to share with you? I think I do.
My notes look nothing like yours.
That's because you're not using the ones that I have shared to you. As I have sent you an email.
Yes, I have.
Evidently you're not, because I will send it to you again so that you can see exactly what changes have been made on this paranormal day. Hashtag National Paranormal Day if you'd like to observe.
Maybe it's a paranormal anomaly because
it could be. Do you know how to spell anomaly?
You don't.
That is correct. Wait. We got the jokes here. It actually sounds really good, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's some pretty interesting paranormal news that I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. So, for a long time, people in the military have had a hard time being able to report anything unusual, right?
Yeah.
And this even stems from my own personal experiences where, you know, when I was in the Navy, there's logs, man. You got to fill out logs for everything. It documents everything. And when you run across something strange or unusual, being able to document that was slightly problematic.
Yeah.
So, the U.S. Navy, right, has taken a look at this sort of thing and has decided that there should be a way to document, right?
Yeah.
And this actually comes from the article that I'm looking at. It is basically called I-Team Confirms Pentagon Did Release UFO Videos. And they're talking about, there was a couple different videos that were released, and this was released by the U.S. Navy. One of them was called the Tic Tac video. The other one is the Fast Mover video. And these are the ones that were like black and white videos released by U.S. Navy combat jet pilots. Some of these are a couple years old. But anyway, everybody's seen them, right? And it's like, okay, so the first video in 2004 was called the Tic Tac UFO. It looks kind of like a Tic Tac flying across that black and white screen.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and it's really not necessarily black and white. It's FLIR. It's forward-looking infrared, so it's basically the tracking screen that the pilots look at. There was another one called Go Fast, which is a fast mover type UFO. And when I say UFO, I don't necessarily mean like a flying saucer UFO, just an unidentified flying object, right? And there's also another one called the Gimbal, which looks a bit different anyway. And so all those videos, or I shouldn't say all of them, 2 out of the 3 videos came out into the public eye in 2017. And they were released by the New York Times and the To the Stars Academy, which is the academy basically, I think, sort of spearheaded and maybe even started by Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, when those videos came out with the New York Times and the To the Stars Academy, the provenance of the videos has been disputed ever since. And come to find out, those videos were released by the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
So they let them out. So they were, people were like, how did they come out? Were they leaked? Whatever. So the Department of Defense actually released the videos, right?
Yeah.
And one of our favorite people, George Knapp, who is part of the I-Team, right?
Yeah.
For like Las Vegas.
Investigative team of Las Vegas.
Yeah. So basically he went and did an interview, and he did an interview with this gentleman who is, I believe, named Lou Elizondo, who basically said that somebody gave the green light to put those videos out there. So somebody in the Department of Defense gave the green light to release those videos. And he says it wasn't him. So I believe it. And Lou Elizondo is basically a career intelligence officer who worked for AATIP, right?
Yeah.
Or ATIP, which is Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which if you follow this kind of stuff, you've probably heard of.
Yeah.
And what they do is it was a secret Pentagon effort that studied and analyzed UFO cases. So in other words, encounters between unknown craft and other military type units, like jets. Just basically military type stuff, whether it's a jet or a control tower or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So he left in 2017. He left the Pentagon. And he said he left in part because he felt that the incidents weren't being given the priority that they should.
Which I can kind of see if you remember back to 2017. There's some weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he said he initiated the process to get the 3 videos and many more declassified so the public can see them. And then in a 2018 interview, he basically said these encounters are not isolated incidents.
Wow. Which
is kind of scary. Because, if you've got things out there that can just basically fly rings around everything that we have, effortlessly changing directions and all this stuff, in such ways that if you were to fly our traditional craft that fast and make these, these you couldn't be a manned aircraft to do some of these maneuvers that these craft actually do. So it's either unmanned for us, or these things that are flying around there don't have the same sort of limits that we do.
You mean abiding by rules of gravity and
physics
motion
don't
and physics?
Necessarily apply.
Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty interesting because we kind of want to be aware of that, because if we have one of the strongest militaries in the world, and heads up, we do, and this sort of thing basically it's like child's play to them, whatever it is, whether it's a drone, anti-gravity type craft, whatever it is, we kind of need to know, right? So with those videos, the Go Fast video, the Gimbal video, and the FLIR video, which is also was the original name for the Tic Tac video, right? authorization was granted, and it came out August 24th, 2017. And there was even a Department of Defense directive which actually spells out how the release procedure works.
Oh, wow. Oh, and there's a link to it, too.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a form that shows the videos that were released by the book, which is good.
Good.
Because, I mean, honestly, being in the military, and if there's something out there that is so much more advanced than you, I mean, what if whatever this is decides to get a little aggressive? What are you going to do, right? There's not really a whole lot you can do. So, anyway, that kind of leads me to this. So, with being in the military in the past and seeing some things that you probably couldn't record in a log, with traditional means, what do you do? It's pretty much left up to the discretion of whoever is going to be the supervisor for that particular watch team to figure out how to report it, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Navy has decided, the U.S. Navy, by God, has decided to go ahead and sort of put in place a procedure on how to document this sort of thing. And they even have that form. It's basically, I believe it's, I don't know the whole thing, but it's Form 1910 that gives you sort of directions on how to document a weird or unusual or an unexplainable type situation or experience or something that you've seen, observation, if you will.
So here's a kind of, I'm slightly ignorant with the military. I mean, I'm probably a little more familiar than some, but this form that the Navy has created, would this also apply to, I guess, Air Force who are currently on an aircraft carrier?
You don't really have Air Force on an aircraft carrier. It's all Navy, but I mean, any pilot,
okay,
in the U.S. Navy could use this form, from what I understand. And also, I don't believe that this form just applies to
the Navy,
the pilots. No, I believe it actually applies to, other people who may be tracking things, or it may be their job to classify, track, and whatever, like certain circumstances. So,
but would this?
But right now, it's set for unexplained aerial phenomena.
Would this form apply to other branches of the military?
I don't know, because see, the military and its different branches have different forms for different things.
Okay.
And you also have forms that are in common with all the militaries, like, for example, the DD-214 that you get when you leave your military service is the same for everybody. Everybody gets a DD-214.
Okay.
Right? Which is a Department of Defense Form 214. It basically ties up your military service in a nice summary type form. So, I mean, the U.S. Navy Form 1910 may only apply to the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
Can't say for sure because, we don't have one of these forms. It could apply to other branches as well, but I don't really know. But, and here's the thing, the Navy is trying to make clear. They're saying this is for unexplained aerial phenomena, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're calling this. They're not calling it UFOs, because the first thing that people did was jump on this bandwagon and say, oh man, flying saucers and aliens, right? The Navy is admitting that there's flying saucer and aliens, And that's not what they're saying at all. An unidentified flying object is exactly that. It's unidentified, it's a flying object, you don't know what it is, so you're reporting it. It doesn't necessarily mean, flying saucers and aliens and transdimensional crafts and that sort of thing.
So it could be like if there were a new Russian drone getting a little too close to your boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if it's something that you don't know flying around out there and you can't identify it. It could be even a jet at a distance that you can't see.
It could be a Thunderbird.
It could be a blimp. I mean, who knows what it could be. But the whole fact is that they come up with a way to go ahead and document unexplained aerial phenomena.
Okay.
And, and people are like, what do you think about the Navy releasing the fact that they believe in UFOs? I'm like, how could you get all that from a form? From previous experience, they're just creating a way to officially document what they're seeing as unexplained aerial phenomena. And really, realistically, the only reason why I think they're doing this is because Congress, wants to know. So they're like, hey, how come this sort of thing isn't documented? So they're creating a more official way to document things, so that if people higher up ask, then they can get that information. But with that being said, then the fact that those 3 videos have been released and there's an official procedure to release these videos, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's disclosure or anything like that. It's just basically it's a clearance request for public release of Department of Defense information.
It's a very nice, clean form. I like this.
And so, and with this form, basically it says, hey, this is what we'd like to see. There's also, I'm sure, another form that basically says how you document the instance in the first place.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's
just kind of one of those things.
It's honestly, it looks like a clearance report or, incident report, I should say.
Yeah.
So I would expect this a similar format for, a slip and fall or...
Yeah, I mean, there's forms for everything in the military, and I don't necessarily think that the Form 1910 and this particular form, if they're the same thing, are going to be anything more than just a documentation exercise.
Now, there is one little section that I do find interesting. Presentation, publication data.
Yep.
And on this particular copy that has been released to the public, it says not applicable, not for publication, research and analysis only, and info sharing with other USG and industry partners for the purpose of developing a database to help identify, analyze, and ultimately defeat UAS threats.
Yes.
That's the one area where I'm like, oh,
well,
okay.
Again, at the end of the day with the military, and this is where a lot of people get sort of hung up over it, the military's job is to protect and defend the United States and its allies.
Yes.
And they don't have to tell the public everything. And they shouldn't tell the public everything. And I firmly, and a lot of people are like, well, the Navy and the military and all the forces together should always disclose any information they get whenever the public wants it. No. I disagree. Because at the end of the day, there are other countries out there that will take all your technology and find a way to try to use it against you. And whether people like it or not, the military is in the job of war, right? They're in the job of defense and war.
Yes.
And so certain things need to be kept secret. And not everybody has the right to know, not everybody has the need to know, and not everybody should know our defense secrets and our capabilities.
And if the purpose of...
And just because you fill out a form thinking that you're going to request, what used to be national security or top secret or above top secret type things, and you get all bent out of shape because you don't get the information, coming from an ex-military person, too bad. There's things that you don't need to know. Because I got to tell you, if you want to know why the military doesn't release everything, we all have family members that you can tell your deepest, darkest secret to, and they will swear upon life that they will not share those secrets, and they will tell everyone they know. So how can you just trust a random stranger with the secrets of your government and your country? You can't. And I'll go back to, like I say, with Area 51 and other secure areas, right?
Yeah.
If it says secured, deadly force authorized, and you're up there messing around by the fence, and you're shocked when security comes up and tries to detain you, that's pretty dumb. And it's not because they're hiding things from you.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's weapons there that they don't want people to jump the fence, break in, and try to blow stuff up.
And we'll see, and that kind of...
And they're just shocked. They're like, I can't believe the military showed up. I was
going to say something earlier, and it kind of goes to that whole, well, what if you weren't there looking for UFOs? What if you were there...
Yeah.
And just because you say, oh, I'm looking for the truth or aliens or whatever, doesn't make it any better. Because, you can outwardly lie. Your intentions could not be UFOs. It could be, I want to get I want to get video footage of a new weapon that's being released.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you're in the trunk of a Russian spy's car.
Yeah.
I mean...
there are people that are spies.
Yes.
That's what they do. And so, when people pull out cameras and start taking pictures of things and they're all shocked when the government comes and claims your footage, well, yeah, that's going to happen.
I'm entertained other people might be shocked that this document, ultimately says, ultimately defeat UAS threats. Well, it's the military. The military is supposed to defend and protect the country, which means...
its allies.
And its allies, which means defeating unknown threats.
Yeah.
And, there's a whole culture of people who are kind of against that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we're dealing with something we don't know and understand.
Yeah, and here's something to understand, too. Just because you're against it doesn't mean that other countries aren't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can be a nation just completely against war and all forms of warfare. That doesn't mean that the rest of the world believes the same or has the same understanding of things that you do. So what do you do when they attack you?
And if you're one of those people who believes in universal disarmament, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. And what if it's something from outside our world?
Yeah.
They're not going to disarm.
Yeah, it's an age old problem, but at the end of the day, yeah. And even then, what are you going to do? I don't know.
You're going to make forms like this.
Yeah, I'll show you. We'll document form number whatever. Okay, so at this point in the podcast, we're going to go ahead and take a second and take a quick break. We're going to play a little commercial about some things that are happening. This weekend, as a matter of, or next week. Anyway, we got a little commercial to play for you about some local events that are happening in the area there. So we're going to take a second and do that, and we'll be right back. I just have to find it.
Hi, this is Bobby from the Asheville Past Lives Project. I'd like to invite you all to a talk I'll be giving on May 11th, 7 p.m. at the Shop Eclectic in Marion, North Carolina. I'll be talking about past life explorations for the 21st century, and we'll do a demonstration of a group past life journey. Starts at 7 p.m. It's free and part of the Shop Eclectic monthly lecture program. Thanks to my friends at M&D Investigations and CreepGeeks for the invite. The Shop Eclectic is at 49 State Street in downtown Marion. Come by and say hi. There will be snacks.
Stuck in the world that I was craving for. I try to change the way I see the world around me, but every time I end up where I begin.
And we're back. So this is something that was pretty interesting, and this sort of ties into what we're going to talk about in a couple minutes with our Georgia Bigfoot Conference recap. Excuse me. Doing some research on my own a while ago, I kind of found out that there is a whole just Western North Carolina UFO. I don't want to say a flap. That's what they used to say back in the day.
Presence.
Yeah. And so there's a website. And if you're interested, you should definitely check it out. It's called skyshipsovercashiers.com. And if you don't know how to spell cashier, it's CASHIERS. Cashiers, right? Since I'm all about the spelling today with this particular podcast. And we put a link, and there are photos, and they go back to archives. So they go from basically 2008 all the way up to 2019, right? Mm-hmm. And they're talking about, in this particular part of the website, things like there's a picture that I like that I actually posted on our social media. It's a triangular cloud that might be a cloaked UFO. And it's just pictures of things that people have seen in this area or close to the area where we currently live. Right? Mm-hmm. And there's all sorts of articles on here, on this website, that covers all sorts of things. But I found that the UFOs and the sky ships, if you will, close to our area, and the sightings that people are having, and they're not just having them like every once in a while. There's a lot.
Yeah.
To be pretty interesting.
Well, like for us, where we live, the thing I find most interesting is the fact that we have thousands of acres of wilderness preserve behind us.
Oh, yeah.
But I've started to time it out, and we have aircraft flying over at very specific times at night.
Yeah. And and it could be maybe the planes are changing directions as they land at Greenville Spartanburg Airport, which is relatively close. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But there's everything from photos for different things. There's witness testimonies about different articles, cosmic miracles, undercover operations, ETs, Bigfoots, all sorts of crazy stuff. The stuff that I really like on this website.
The link that we put in the show notes, the one that fascinates me because, I am the camera nerd, is the very last one. 'Twas the night before Christmas UFOs.
Yeah.
That one, there's like these weird trails on the image next to the Santa. Do you see those?
Yeah.
That's interesting to be caught at night.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I looked at some of those, and it's kind of like I can't necessarily discern that it's motion blur.
Yeah.
Or camera shake. It's taken from a far distance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there is enough stuff there, especially when even with the zoomed in images, to say, okay, that's a little unusual.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's all sorts of things that can cause weird sort of anomalies. You can have water vapor or a water droplet on your lens, and depending on how you have it focused and what aperture and all sorts of stuff like that you're using, you might be able to see it, you know? Mm-hmm. That's not it. No. You know, so when I look at some of these pictures in here and I'm going, okay, I can't really necessarily, and some of the stuff that you see is like reflections. You'll see the light of whatever the object is, especially in a nighttime photo. And then you'll see almost like the object repeated. And a lot of times that's basically reflection that's back inside the lens barrel, you know, that sort of thing. But there are some pictures on here that I can't explain, and that's why I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's an interesting website, to say the least. They're pretty active, and they post things a lot, and it's definitely worth, I think, you know, especially if you're in this area, worth a minute to kind of check it out. And they have a pretty active Facebook presence as well. And she does her research, and we'll talk about her in a little bit. So,
yeah,
which is very, very nice. Well, I shouldn't say her like in the third party, but the editor, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, there's everything. And there's also a daily recap, which I kind of like. So you can see a bunch of things, you know, as they happen. Like when you hit the homepage, it's just like, see what's new on the website. There's just links after links after links. And it's just like, ooh. You know, like, let me give you an example. Roswell. Sorry. Roswell Truman secrets found in an old Army footlocker. That's the kind of stuff. I'm like, what?
Ooh.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy stuff like that.
And see, that's my thing. Like, I'm into UFOs. I have an interest in them. We moved out here and I felt a little lost, and now we've found skyships over Cashiers, so this is what I'm all over right now.
Yeah, it's like,
so,
ooh,
yeah.
So it's definitely worth checking out. So anyway, I was very excited by that, and we do have a link to that in the description as well, and we even put a link on our website. So if you go to CreepGeeks.com, and if you look on the left-hand side, there's a link that you can click. I'll take you there as well. Yep. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and along with this, I thought this was really interesting as well. You know, if you listen to this podcast for any particular length in time, we talk about thunderbirds, large birds, big birds, cryptid birds, if you will, a lot.
Are they your favorite cryptid?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. You know why? And I've said this before. The reason why they're, I think, my favorite cryptid is because there's, I think, a higher likelihood of that being possible than most of the other cryptids out there. Okay. Because for me, it would go Thunderbird, because we've seen some basically big-ass birds, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about rock, which is like the pterodactyl flying around, like just a giant bird. Next, I think, would probably be Sasquatch as being a likely possibility. I mean, a great woodlands ape type thing. You know, who knows, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know necessarily about Loch Ness Monster. I think that basically Champ or Champy, whatever one, Okopogo monster, I think has a higher likelihood of being a real thing versus Loch Ness. Okay. Because of the food. Because everything I've ever seen about Loch Ness Monster, it doesn't look like there's a lot or enough food to sustain it. Yeah. You know, I don't know. But definitely I think that the Thunderbird has more of a higher likelihood of, more of a probability of being a thing. Okay. You know, and I mean, look at like when it comes to anacondas and stuff like that. It seems like every other like month or something, you'll see where somebody has like captured this big giant anaconda,
or how they're somewhere. Like thriving in Florida.
Yeah, they're like 30 feet long, and you know, yeah. Holy. So if you can just in nature get a big giant snake, why can't you in nature have like a big giant bird with a 14-foot wingspan? True. I mean, who knows? So, yeah. But anyway, there's a man who claimed to see giant birds in Puerto Rico. Ooh. And what I like about this title of this particular article that we read, this is off Cryptozoology News. It says, man claims seeing giant birds in Puerto Rico. I know what the hell I saw. He's like straight up coming right at you, right?
He's from Virginia.
Yeah. That's kind of why I put that in here,
okay,
right? Yeah. And, you know, basically he's a HVAC technician, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning technician, you know? Yeah. Which is very important in Virginia because of the humidity. You got to keep that stuff running, but... he's from Virginia. He told Cryptozoology News, and this is a little while ago when this was posted. I'm not exactly sure the date, but it was recent.
It happened to him a while back, though.
Yeah, but it's still relatively recent. He said it happened right after 9/11, so it wasn't like 30 years ago. Yeah. He said, we just booked a cruise with Royal Caribbean in January of that year, and that's popular out in that particular area. You know, people take wintertime cruises to go somewhere warm. And he said they had 28 members in their congregation, and he claims that after a strong tropical storm, the captain managed to land, which is not what boats do, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Okay, prior military, I've been to Rosie Roads or Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico, like 28 times. And San Juan's kind of on the other side where cruise ships go.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we arrived there in the morning. The day was off. It was rainy, right? They took a tour. They went to the beach, or they took a tour next to the beach, like close, right? And they noticed a real dark rolling rain cloud coming in quickly. And that happens, in the Caribbean in general.
Yeah.
And storms and just comes out of nowhere, and heavy winds and all that stuff can kind of tie into the whole Bermuda Triangle thing, because it's just a triangle in the ocean from points, right? And the storms can roll up really fast. And he said, and that's when I saw them. At the very top of the storm cloud, I saw two giant birds. I pointed up to everyone in the group, including my now ex-wife. Thanks for the clarification there. And the guide, but the birds went straight up. He described the birds as being the size of airplanes, with a 30-foot wingspan, their necks surrounded by a white ring, and they had straight beaks. That, I think, is important information.
Yeah.
Because if you look, and a lot of the thunderbirds that have been reported will have that white ring, and they've been drawn with white rings. Even the natives have drawn them with white rings around their neck.
Especially the Pacific Northwest ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And their beaks are straight, and so are their wings. That's typically, if you ever try to go buy Thunderbird anything, you can tell the difference between an eagle and a Thunderbird, right? Just in the way they look. The alleged sighting lasted about 5 seconds. And he said he was the only one to see the flying animals, and he added that he tried to snap pictures, but he had not enough time to capture the image. And the guy's name is Ponce. Said he's told everyone, he told the story to his congregation, his friends and families, and most of them don't believe him.
Oh.
He says, only my two sons believe me. I know what the hell I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's some information about Thunderbird. Thunderbird, also known as rock, is the nomenclature used by Native Americans to refer to the bird-like creatures. Right?
Yeah.
And it says used by the nomenclature referred or used by the Native Americans to refer to the bird-like creatures with reptile features. And see, here's where I think people are wrong. I think there's two distinct types.
Okay.
I think you have the bird who looks like a bird. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of hair on his head. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of feathers on his head, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the more reptile version is a different version.
Okay.
So I think you got two different types here. Because, you would know a petrosaur, or a pterodactyl if you've seen one, right?
Yeah.
Some look like a giant bird and some look like a dinosaur, a flying dinosaur. There's a difference, right? And so, of course, it sort of ties into, in 2015, a man in Michigan claimed to have seen a giant bird with a 10-foot wingspan. 2015, 2 people in Nevada reported seeing a creature that reminded them of a petrosaur. Right. 2 weeks later than that, a minister and a daughter claimed that they had seen an unidentified flying creature. It looked like it was flying straight out of Jurassic Park. Right. And then 2015, a California man snapped a photograph of what he believed to be a prehistoric bird. And if you look at that picture, that, to me, looks like a thunderbird. Relatively straight wings, straight,
Yeah.
And he says it was a flying reptile.
Huh.
I don't know. 1890, an Arizona newspaper called the Tombstone Epitaph wrote about 2 ranchers killing a winged monster similar to an alligator in the desert between Whetstone and Huaca Mountains.
Huh.
I think there's 2 different types.
Yeah. Because
at least.
So. And I was trying to look real quick to see what type of raptor birds,
like Puerto Rico may have?
Yeah. And
and the 2 Thunderbird thing, arriving on a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Is kind of how the natives describe when the Thunderbird arrives. And they even make a distinction between like feathered versus reptile.
Yeah.
So,
and there's really not anything that I could see except for, they have a very small hawk, but it's got more of a hook beak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that what the guy seen was just 2 big, large birds. I don't know. But, he seems, he's pretty specific. My now ex-wife. And I know what the hell I saw, that kind of thing.
The closest would be this grongo bird, and it's got white patches on its neck.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. But, anytime I see a Thunderbird type sighting, I'm all about it. And we've talked about Thunderbird sightings a lot over the past year or so. So it seems to happen a whole lot more than we think. Sometimes it happens in group sightings. It seems like if you to put all these on a map, that you might be able to kind of get an idea of where these things may be habitating. Who knows?
Like a migratory pattern?
Possibly, or it's just where they hang out.
Okay.
Who knows? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, because there's like, it seems to be more of an uptick in dogman sightings, thunderbird sightings, you know, all that stuff. Like the last podcast when we were talking about aggressive dogmen.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So.
But with that,
and the flying, like,
Yeah.
humanoid type sightings, whether it's like Mothman or whatever you think, especially around the whole Chicago area, and there's one in, I believe, Pennsylvania.
And with the Mothman and the Thunderbird sightings, though, and maybe we just now realize it with Dogman, does that mean something ominous is going to happen soon?
I don't know. Or maybe the holes in our reality, in our dimension, are being poked at, and things from other parallel dimensions are popping out, saying hello, and popping back in again. I don't know. I kind of think when you see like a dinosaur, that's kind of what's happening there. This thing's just doing its thing, right? Steps through a hole in our dimension that's probably been created by the holes being punched by CERN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the whole Mandela effect, who's to say that this thing, every time it fires up and does its colliding, that it's not poking little holes in our reality or our dimension or whatever?
I don't know.
Or time. I mean, who knows exactly?
For me, I kind of
like these like wormholes, like stargates, if you will, but with like reality, right? So they sort of step out. The dinosaur's just doing his thing, walking along, and he just wanted to pop him back into his own reality, right? Who knows, man?
I don't know. I kind of take more of, I know it sounds odd, but a somewhat spiritual approach to it. I mean, traditionally, Mothman has been associated with an ominous event.
You know what, though? But here's the thing, though. I mean, how many times has Mothman been associated with an ominous event?
Twice?
I don't know. I mean, I really haven't done quite that much research in Mothman. We know the one with the bridge and, you know, in Point Pleasant and all that sort of thing. But, I mean, how many others? You know, people... And
they were trying to attribute the Chicago sightings to a serious event that was avoided. So, like, successfully avoided. And then Thunderbird, traditionally, at least according to certain native beliefs, it is the marker of a significant change.
Yeah, because they don't necessarily say it's a bad thing or a good thing, although it kind of depends on who you ask.
True chaotic neutral.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty interesting to read that, and then it's like, and then this next thing kind of got me too. I was like, wait a minute, a dwarf Bigfoot creature in a Tennessee cave. I was like, okay, what's this all about? Because, you know, we started talking a little bit about, you know, moon-eyed people, which are not little people, but like little people in this particular area.
And goblins.
Goblins and things like that. And even Hellier alluded to goblins, that sort of thing, when they did their little documentary. So I seen it, and it's like, okay, what does this mean, you know, this dwarf Bigfoot creature? So in Hamlin County, Tennessee, which is in eastern Tennessee, a lady came face to face with what she she called a miniature version of Bigfoot. For lack of, I guess, a better descriptor, right?
Yeah.
Her name is Leslie, and her husband were in a cave located inside their property when they spotted the creature. They said they rediscovered the cave about 6 years ago. I guess they found it on their property and lost it. I mean, that happens with caves, actually. You'd be surprised, right? And it has many unexplored chambers, and she told Thomas Markham last week of the Crypto Crew, the founder of the Crypto Crew, which is a paranormal research organization claiming over 20 years of experience in this subject. It's funny when you read stuff like this and they say claiming.
Yeah.
You know, because there's... all right, anyway.
Allegedly.
Yeah. It's like saying, I've been interested in the paranormal for like 30 years. And they're like, so you claim to have 30 years experience. Like, come on, really?
Just, you have experience.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have more experience than somebody who's got 3 months worth of experience, I would think. Right.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Those are business tips, not necessarily paranormal tips.
Yeah, really. So she pointed out, you know, or basically her and her husband were in the cave that they rediscovered. And as her husband pointed out the strange animal, Leslie decided to go down and take a closer look. Okay, that's how you die in every horror movie. Right?
Yeah.
And so what happens? She decides, I'm going to go take a closer look, right? What she found attached to the cave wall, she said, prompted her to run out of the cave screaming and crying.
Wait, it was attached to the wall?
Yeah.
That's kind of creepy.
That's why I put this in here. Mm-hmm. This is, we both froze in the shock state and took in each other's detail before I ran. So in other words, This thing is attached to the wall, eyeballing her. She's eyeballing it. And she said, I stood less than 2 feet face to face from it, or with it. In other words, she's eyeballing it like they're close.
Oh, God.
He was as scared as I was. So the being was described as being about 4 foot long, right? 4-legged creature, which is weird, with a hairless human face, brown eyes, and the rest of the body was covered in brown hair. It can climb cave walls and freeze in place. The species could be a cousin of Bigfoot, but smaller. It had short legs, heavy paws with claws that flattened at the end, a lot like a fisher's body, right? With a human white man's face. She believes the animal was a young male with clean toenails and not smell from it. In other words, it didn't stink.
Oh, a fisher is a small carnivorous mammal. Kind
Yeah.
of like a ferret, almost.
Yeah, it's kind of weird looking.
Yeah.
She also claims that inside the cave she found what appears to be a 16th century document written in Old Germanic by an Italian explorer, Amerigo Vespucci. It's a good source. It has the exact plate showing this animal with the human face. Markham also featured 2 YouTube videos with the follow-up investigation containing more images of the cage and the allegedly found document. And in October 2014, a man from Australia who calls himself the Nephilim Hunter, right?
Okay.
Yeah, captured the images of what he called a Nephilim creature attached to the roof of an undisclosed cave in Douglasshire. And also, some Bigfoot investigators believe that the cryptid could be hiding inside caves occasionally, but not living in them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird. Now, the night of June 8th, 2013, a woman called in to the radio show Coast to Coast, claiming to have lived in a cave with Bigfoot for 3 weeks in Tacoma, Washington. I heard that episode. I remember this.
Huh.
Yeah. And then in 2014, a cave explorer told longtime Bigfoot podcaster Reverend Jeffrey Kelly about his experience, with the Sasquatch in a cave in Tennessee. But Leslie, who feels she's being ignored by investigators, says she doesn't understand that when something like this is discovered, they should be more receptive, since evolution, she argues, obviously took many routes.
Well,
And she also says she would take a lie detector test, and it really makes me mad that no one seems to care.
so here's my thing about that. This was very scary to me, reading this article, until I got to the part where the witness claims they found a 16th century document written in Old Germanic by Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci.
Yeah.
If you feel that you're being ignored and you want that credibility, take that document to a local university.
How could that document, and they don't really say how the document was discovered, if it was protected or safe or whatever. I mean, even in a cave,
I mean,
you have humidity and things like that. I would think that a document being that old, even with the paper it was made out of, if it was made out of vellum or whatever, would not last that long.
yeah,
I think that's the problem
that I
that
have with
people.
this.
I also have the same issue. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would like more details about that before I'd make a decision. But, I would think that, the people I know would probably be all over this, especially if she's receptive to having people come check it out. But that's the one thing in the story that's a little off to me, which is kind of funny because she's talking about a monster with a human face that can hang on the cliff walls and climb around and, and I'm like, the document seems a little strange to me.
I'm sorry, but yeah, that's the only flag or concern I have in this article.
Yeah, it seems a little off. But, I think maybe some more details, might help with that sort of thing. I don't know. But I still thought it was an interesting story. It's like, But yeah, young male with clean toenails. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of weird.
I don't know. It was very interesting. I would love to investigate like a small cave system if the people were familiar with the cave system.
Yeah. Caves are cool, but they can also kill you to death.
They are more scary to me than the woods, because at least the woods you can run in any direction.
Yeah, hopefully. Caves is not a lot.
Yeah.
Your exits are limited.
Yeah. So. And the whole description where 2 feet from her face,
She probably walked up on it. If this thing can hang off a wall and it's dark and brown and you're inside a cave, it'd probably blend right in.
One of my very few negative cave experiences involved looking for a geocache, at which point there was a cluster of baby bats 2 feet from my face, and that made me run like a little girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I accidentally stuck my hand in them. So, yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. So I totally relate to her on that. But, yeah. I don't know. I want to know if there's more from this. So.
Yep, me too. So we'll kind of keep an eye out. Yeah. And it's almost like if you had a sixth sense about these sort of things, that'd be nice to have, right?
Yeah.
Well, evidently we may have a magnetic sixth sense. Right? Now, to me, this was kind of like, duh.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have iron in our blood, right? Some birds have a strong iron sort of content in their beaks, right, to help them navigate to different places, by the magnetic north and that sort of thing. There's all sorts of animals that, are way more in tune with, with the magnetic influence of the earth, right?
Uh-huh.
In other words, how they travel, all that sort of thing, Because I'm really sort of glossing over, but you still, it's part of what we do.
Sea turtles navigate certain routes.
Yeah, sea turtle. Everything does to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Birds, I think, are probably the most, since they can be the most migratory and go over long distance, especially remember the homing pigeon type thing? Mm-hmm. They are definitely influenced by, magnetics, or the Earth's magnetics.
Okay.
So now, with this article, and I read this because this is on Mysterious Universe, and it's done by Micah Hanks, who's also local to the western North Carolina area. It says humans may have a magnetic sixth sense, and it kind of talks about when he was young, that sort of thing, right? And you have your ninja intuition, and we all have Batman, Spider-Man had his spider sense and all that sort of thing, right? And it's it's a supposed sixth sense that helps you orient yourselves directionally, right? Mm-hmm. It says whether or not we actually possess this intuitive directional sense or simply knew the landscape extremely well is another story. However, there's new studies in the last few years that suggest the unique sensory capabilities may really exist in humans, right? Mm-hmm. It's known that magnetoreception exists in various species of the animal kingdom, which we kind of just talked about a little bit. But they talked about, and this was a study that was done in eNeuro, people were placed near an artificial magnetic field with a strength similar to the Earth's magnetic field, right?
Yeah.
And that displayed changes in their brainwave patterns. As the magnet was pointed in different directions in the lab, they observed changes in the brain activity that seemed to correlate directly with the changes in the direction of the field. So if the brain on some level is basically, the brainwave, if it's being affected by direction, that kind of makes sense to me, really.
Yeah.
Because if you seemed, if you didn't have this sort of ability, whether it's a small amount or you're really good at it, when you would go out in the woods, if you weren't paying attention, I would think you would get lost, because even if you paid attention to every little direction you were going, that sort of thing, at the end of the day, you still kind of know where to go, unless you're really turned around lost.
Yeah.
So you have sort of the instinctual ability to know what direction you kind of came from.
I never got lost in the desert. Out here, it's different because I have to reacclimate. Understanding where true north is has been a little bit of a challenge for me, but I never got lost in the desert. Yeah. And I always knew what direction everything was.
And maybe part of that's just, that small amount of maybe unconscious or subconscious ability that sort of gets, makes up the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Your whole sort of awareness of your surroundings, your environment.
Yeah.
And they were basically saying that the biophysical test showed that the neural response was sensitive to static components in the magnetic field, which rules out all forms of electrical induction, which would be artifacts from the electrodes, just other dynamic components of the field. So the neural response was also sensitive to the polarity of the magnetic field, which also rules out free radical quantum compass, like magnetic objects, like the cryptochrome hypothesis, which can detect only axial alignment, ferromagnetism, which remains a viable biophysical mechanism for sensory transduction and provides a basis to start with the behavioral exploration of the human magnetoreception. So in other words, what they're saying is that the results that they seen from, if I'm reading this correctly, was basically due to the magnetism that they sort of created, like the magnetism that's in the earth.
There could be serious repercussions for this, though, if somebody started playing around with this. Like, imagine, and this is going down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Well, hold on. Imagine that the Earth's pole has been changing at a rapid rate. So,
which is why whales, who are mammals, are, showing up in weird areas.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. But, like, if we started playing around with this, and this is, okay, so missing 411. What if we put one of these magnets at the entrance of every state or national park? Would it help there be less missing people?
I don't know. See, I don't necessarily think so, because if you're just kind of navigating along, whether it's subconscious or not, using the Earth's magnetic lines of flux, or the Earth's magnetic lines of force, if you will, that whole magnetic field, you'd be navigating using the field. So I don't know if having a stronger magnet at one end of the field would influence your just natural ability or subconscious ability to sort of navigate.
Because, I don't know. Like, I always felt my subconscious ability to navigate was way stronger in the desert. And the few times I got a little disoriented, it was when I was following maps. Because there's one area of the desert I explored a lot, and that was the Sandia Mountains.
Yeah.
And when I'd go off trail because of a map, that is when I'd become disoriented. If I followed my internal instincts, I was just fine.
Yeah.
So,
and see, who's to say that maybe, I'm sure with most everything, you have people who are probably way more sensitive to this sort of thing than others. And some of those people would probably be so sensitive, or could be so sensitive, that they could basically feel things like Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
In different frequency ranges, like 1.9 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz. They could probably feel that, right?
Well, the Sandias have two things. They have those cell towers at the top, and then they have high concentrations of silver. So silver and copper, depending on what side of the mountain.
Yeah. So, I would think that people that are more sensitive to it, I don't know. See, that's the thing about when you read something like this. You're like, what do they mean?
Yeah.
But to me, it kind of makes sense. Using a helicopter view, looking at this sort of thing, right? We kind of look at like the animals in the animal kingdom as having more better or possible sensory capabilities than we do.
Yeah.
But then the more research like this happens, the more we realize that in a lot of ways we're just as capable, if not better capable, than animals are.
And maybe it's just been shut off, or
maybe we just don't need it all the time. So it's kind of like if you're a bird and you need to migrate, you need to know where you're going.
True.
So that would have a higher priority. Right. Mm-hmm. And so in your skills and abilities, that would be way up there. Humans have a bunch of capabilities that birds don't have. Like the ability to make machines and air conditioning and things like ice cream and stuff like that.
And
so
if you do end up lost,
the ability to navigate, is probably less, it has less priority in that list because we've made things to help us navigate, like compass and all sorts of crazy stuff. So but I still think that generally that we have a lot of the same abilities, if not all the same abilities as other animals, just to a smaller degree, because we have such a large brain that we can kind of overcome that sort of thing. Like people are like, if I dropped you off in the desert, you couldn't survive because your skin would burn and you'd be exposed to the elements, whereas a lizard could be out there and he could survive. So you're no better in the desert than a lizard. It's like, well, excuse me. I can wear clothes, right?
I know what a tree is with shade.
Yeah, I can go into space, in the vacuum of space.
I can cut open a cactus and drink the water, the liquid.
I can basically dig a big hole and hide out.
Yeah.
I can dig a deep hole and put a piece of plastic over top of it and collect the moisture from the... So to say that, you're no better, humans are no better than animals if we're like thrown in these different situations because our skin maybe is not as thick or our fingernails aren't as strong or whatever, is stupid. Because at the end of the day, there's one thing that separates us from the animals. Two things. Air conditioning and ice cream. Like I just said. So, with that, I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Bobby from the Asheville Pass.
I already played that. This is what I'm looking for.
The goal of M&D Paranormal is to compassionately, knowledgeably, and professionally support and offer paranormal services to those who have been affected by a paranormal experience, including those who have been indirectly affected. Services provided include paranormal investigation, property research, and evidence review of residential, business, and private property locations. Cleansing of these properties are available upon request. No matter the circumstances of the paranormal experience, M&D Paranormal strive to offer a non-judgmental environment to promote education, open communication, and empathy to each individual that chooses to share their experience or come into our service. In achieving this goal, M&D Paranormal is building and bringing together a community of open and like-minded individuals by offering free monthly gatherings and events at the Shop Eclectic, 49 State Street, Marion, North Carolina. Call us anytime at 828-484-1637 or 828-559-2818 or email us at mndparanormal.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
Yes.
Yeah, I have both of those labeled the same for some reason.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Shop Eclectic on 49th State Street in Marion is a place you can go. And it just happens to also be the same place where Bobby from Past Live Regressions and Past Live Experiences is going to be doing a little talk on May 11th.
Yes.
So, and we talked to him on our last podcast, did a little interview with him. I like Bobby. Bobby's a good guy. So, yeah, come on down if you're in the area there. So if you're in Asheville, it's like 20 minutes away from Asheville, North Carolina. So if you're in Hickory, it's like 38 miles away, something crazy like that. So it's not that far. You should come on down and check it out. But anyway, let's talk about something I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay.
And by let's talk about it, how about you talk about it? It's our creature feature, right? Where we talk about, a new, often unheard about creature. But since we did something different, we're doing something different now.
Now, last weekend we did attend the Georgia Bigfoot Conference as vendors, and we also assisted with M&D Paranormal. And since it was about Bigfoot, we just want to throw a little mention out there for the book Lizardman, Bigfoot, and Friends. And that was actually written by the hosts of the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, Joseph Stamey and Matthew Delph.
Yep.
And you can actually get a copy of this book on Amazon. It's a very interesting book. Goes a little in depth about each of those, and as well as a lot of the
Lizard Man.
Yeah, the cryptids. Now, the hosts of the Georgia Bigfoot Conference are actually holding events this entire year pertaining to these cryptids. So, grab the book, show some support for these authors, and also check out the events that they're hosting.
Yeah.
And we'll put a link in the show notes to the book as well as the Georgia Bigfoot Conference.
Yeah, there's going to be, again, events in Georgia, also in Tennessee.
And the Lizard Man event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is coming up pretty soon.
Which Lizard Man is not a very well-known cryptid.
Yeah.
So.
And basically, as the name entails, it's a lizard man.
Yes.
But the sightings are pretty interesting. So, yeah, if you'd like to check that out, that'd be pretty cool. So, okay, so what was it? Not that long ago, and we're talking like days, we went to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference.
Yes.
Right? And we actually went, and there's two things. We would have gone anyway, just to kind of see what was up. Right. But we actually went as vendors because we figured why not. And anytime you can go to a conference like that where you can like learn from people's experiences or encounters, that kind of thing, we're all about. Because we said in the beginning of the podcast that we sort of had made a little bit of a shift. And rather than just sort of talk about some of the things that we see and we think to be interesting, if we can go out and maybe learn a little bit and experience something to get a little bit of background experience, if you will, was the way to go. Right?
Yes.
So we joined a paranormal investigation team so we could learn more about that and how the procedures go and just to get the background information, just kind of get the skinny on how that works. And we did with M&D Paranormal, right? And so when this event came up and basically we found out that it was not that far away, and M&D were going to be there anyway. It's like, let's go check it out. So that's kind of what we did. So we went down to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, and we set up a little table, and we basically got to see and hear lots of speakers talk about different things. And I don't want to necessarily go through and explain what we've seen, because I think if you go attend some of these events, it may sort of give it away for some people. I don't know how to say that.
It's a unique experience that you need to witness on your own.
People put on presentations, right? And I don't want to explain everything about people's presentations and what they talked about, because if you go, chances are you might see the same presentation. Does that make sense? So I don't want to kind of give that away, but I will say that I did find out some interesting theories about, like, for example, Bigfoot and some of the tree structures that happen and why they may be happening. Like, in other words, some of these, like, you know what I'm talking about tree structures, right?
Yeah, like the ones that were in Jimenez for a while.
Yeah, the ones that are, like, all bent up in the trees. Like, you'll see, like, trees that are crossed over make X's, or they're just in the unusual sort of shapes. That
Remember we found one? Yeah.
We actually found a couple. We just ignored them because we didn't know what they were. But they may actually mean something different to Sasquatch, for example. Like, one of them was a nice X that a picture came up, and I won't say where it came from exactly, but and they thought that it meant there's no food there.
Huh. So
if you're a Sasquatch, and by they, I mean the people that discovered this and sort of have been doing research on these tree structures and tree shapes, and they sort of figured out, because one person was like, there's no food here. And they went and they looked in that area, and there was no food. There was no squirrels. There wasn't like any birds. There wasn't really a whole lot to eat at all. So if you're a Bigfoot, and maybe slightly migratory, because all this is really theory.
Yeah.
And you come across that X because you're traveling in a route that other Sasquatch have gone, because we would think these would be more higher order, higher thinking animals, like apes, primates, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even more than that. That the X would mean, this is a dead zone, man. You're not going to survive here. There's no food here. And you just move on.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
if you think about what we saw.
Yeah. And if you think about like migratory patterns and things like that, having trees maybe pushed over at the top, or, as markers, it could be markers as in showing you how to navigate. Like, you keep on going this way. You're on the right track. You're on the right trail, that kind of thing. Especially since a lot of the landscape is changing. It changes over time, whether somebody, companies coming in, they're doing deforestation or whatever they're doing. It seems to, if it changed a lot, the route that you're used to taking would be different. So why not mark the way for others that may be coming your way or coming that way as well?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And there was some MUFON, Mutual UFO Network type presentations and stuff like that. And also there was one presentation that occurred that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And I think that you weren't expecting it either.
Either?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a band.
Oh, yes.
And there was a band called the Sasquatch Squad.
Yes. So the Georgia Bigfoot Conference actually featured live entertainment from a group during the lunch period.
Yeah.
And that was from a group of young musicians called Sasquatch Squad. There's really no way to describe their music other than reminiscent of...
It's a multi-influence.
Yeah.
Depending on...
Yeah.
Like, for example, we actually asked them... It's funny because they come running in real quick and set up, did a couple songs, and they ran out real quick.
Yeah.
And Omi went and asked them if we could, hey, can we borrow a chunk of your music to play on our podcast? And they basically threw us a CD with a car air freshener basically taped to it and said, sure. It was kind of like some weird guerrilla marketing, you know what I mean?
Late 70s, early 80s post-punk type.
It was almost the equivalent
feel.
of like when you have a cassette, that came where it's got Band-Aids over little thingies.
I used to
so
do
you can,
that.
It's just written on their magic marker, play this side. From what I understand, they told us that we could play one of the songs, but not the second one, because the second one hasn't dropped yet. So I think we have an exclusive.
Yes.
So what we're going to do for you guys who are listening, is if you've been still listening, which we do appreciate, is we're going to play from the Sasquatch Squad, track number 1, because honestly, the air freshener, which has like smell built into it, has ate through the tape that told us what the name of the track was. You know what I mean? Because it's got liquid in an air freshener, man. So Yeah, and that air freshener was black ice. So we're going to go ahead and play that right now. Not black ice. We're going to play the Sasquatch Squad, track number 1. Ready?
Sure.
Here we go.
In 1811, the theory of Bigfoot was founded. Today he's real. Bigfoot's so cool, they call him the Yeti. He kills him up just like he's spaghetti. As slow as lightning, friends around. Don't hit Jules, cause Jules are bad. Bigfoot, hunters, got an obsession. They'll call him a myth. Call him legend. But here comes Bigfoot, 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 here comes Bigfoot. Bigfoot, B.I.G. F-O-O-D. Bigfoot. What's up to me? Bigfoot.
Here we go. Yes. What do you think about that?
I actually like it. If you listen to the lyrics, it's a little story that's
Yeah.
yeah.
He doesn't have time to stand still. He's protecting you. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So okay, that was the Sasquatch Squad, track number 1, off their exclusive CD with an air freshener duct taped to it as they threw it at us.
Yes.
So there you go. I thought that was kind of funny.
We'll put links to their Facebook page in the show notes.
Yeah. So there you go. Show them some love. And who knows? Maybe they'll give us. Maybe they'll say, "Go ahead and drop track number 2," which we happen to have that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. Full disclosure, I thought it was okay. I don't know why I need to do full disclosure, but yeah, some people might be like, "What? I don't believe you. Bigfoot's a superhero." And they want to fight about it. It's like, I'll wrestle you in the front yard. How about that?
God.
Yeah.
So what else?
Okay, so at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, got to meet SkyshipOverCashiers.com
Yes.
head researcher / editor-in-chief, Mary Joyce.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Talked to her for a little bit. We chatted. It was very, very nice. And
She liked you.
everybody likes me.
I know.
I don't think she liked me. I think she was like, she does use a Canon PowerShot camera to take pictures.
Cool.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's just a side note. But no, we did talk about some different things, and I think in the future we'll be talking more to Mary Joyce.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought her book too. I like her book. I've been checking it out. So that's what I don't want to say too much about that, but she's a good researcher. She's neat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's a way better researcher than we are, for sure. I mean, what's that face for? Like, what? No, I mean, the website's got some really interesting stuff, and I really appreciate it. Communication's been great. Very professional in what she does, and I appreciate that. So, yeah, check out SkyshipsOverCashiers.com.
Yep.
If you want to kind of see what's up. And so, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that, talking to her for a while.
Yeah.
It was a good chat. So hopefully we can have some little collaboration in the future, because she knows a lot and has written several books. They're very interesting so far. So it'd be nice to pick her brain for a while. If she wants. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, check it out. You can find her basically you can find her books and find out where to get them from if you go to skyshipsovercashiers.com and check out what she's got going on over there. And if you check on you click on the editor's corner where she's the website editor, you can kind of see like everything from announcements, comments, the radio shows she's been on, the videos that she's done, more information about her books and some of her bio. So, yeah, coast to coast, AM, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, very cool. Yep. And while I was chatting with her, what were you doing?
I was selling some exclusive swag.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were being inundated by people asking questions like, what is that?
Or, do you accept Square? Which we do. We have not limited edition, but CreepGeeks is starting to sell swag. And
yeah, some people have asked for it. So
yeah, our goal is to get some of that swag online, but also it's going to be exclusively carried by us, as well as some items will be available through the Shop Eclectic in downtown historic Marion.
Dun, dun, dun.
So yeah, if you don't see us at an event this year, you can always stop down at the Shop Eclectic and pick your CreepGeek swag up.
Yeah, and for those people that came by and said hello, very much appreciated. That was fun.
Yeah. And then we were sat between M&D Paranormal and some interesting, what were they? It was Primitive. I forgot the name.
Oh, Driveway Primitive?
Driveway Primitive. I forgot that first part. They're, relatively new. And so is another company, Sasquatch Trading. They make apparel and T-shirts and stuff. They sold out on the first day. So congratulations to them. And let's see. We also met Matthew Delph, who runs MECRO, which is Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization. Pretty active in this region as far as like Bigfoot research and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll get some interviews with different folks soon. And on our way out of Georgia, the long way, we did stop by the Georgia Guidestones with M&D Paranormal. Yeah.
And we're going to do and release a video on that here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Also...
Speaking of videos that are out.
Yeah, right. So on our CreepGeeks channel, our CreepGeeks YouTube channel, we did the in real life. We joined the paranormal investigation team, and we said that we were going to start releasing videos of that after some reveals have been done, that sort of thing. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we did the off the wagon dueling piano bar investigation with M&D, and before that, we did an interview where I sat him down and said, just talk. Tell me your experiences, and left him alone. And both the owners, very lovely people, did a really good job and just talked for like 10 minutes about some of the experiences that they had. So I recorded that and videoed it, and it's up. So if you go to CreepGeeks, you can find it on CreepGeeks.com. You can find it on Facebook. You can also find it on our YouTube channel. So the interview with the owners from the Off the Wagon Dueling Piano Bar is up. And that's going to be the first video, because the next video will be about the investigation, and then the final video will be the reveal of what we discovered. So, there's that. May even put a link to it.
Yeah.
So, because we figured it was time.
And then I think
there's some amazing EVPs that we kind of picked up, so we'll put those out there too as well.
And then I think one of the last things that we have going on, or will be going on, is Bobby from Asheville Past Lives Project. He's going to be at the shop on May 11th, like the commercial we played at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
So, again, stop on by the Shop Eclectic. They have monthly gatherings and meetings focused on a variety of topics. This time, Bobby will be talking about past life experiences and his process on how he accomplishes your past life experience.
And he's going to be doing a group exercise with everybody there to see if we can get them all to be able to recall some of their past lives.
Yes.
And then we kind of talked about that in the last podcast a little bit when we talked to him. So it's going to be an interesting time. So come on down, 49th State Street. What is it?
49 State Street.
49 State Street, Marion, North Carolina.
Yes.
You know, it's funny, as much as I've been talking, you think I would know to move my tongue out of the way when I'm talking, but I didn't. I just bit it. Super hard on hashtag National Paranormal Day. So yeah, so in the future, expect some video about the Georgia Guidestones. And we've actually gone in the past, and it was slightly different this time. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
We have video from the Off the Wagon Dueling Piano Bar, which is a multi-part video series that we're going to do. It starts with the interview. We also have another investigation series of videos that will be coming up as well. And we've been really active on our Instagram and Facebook and all that sort of thing. And the podcast, of course, is chugging along nicely. So if you'd like to comment, if you have any questions, concerns, you can certainly do so. We do appreciate the interaction. And there's a phone number you can call again, and that was 1-575-208-4025 if you want to more directly interact with the show.
And if you're not comfortable with phone, you can always email us. You can do contact@creepgeeks.com, or you can visit creepgeeks.com and click on that cool little Contact Us button that I built, and that'll actually take you to a little thing where you can send us a message. Now, if you have any business inquiries or suggestions, feedback, or if you just want to share a story, that email I gave earlier, contact@creepgeeks.com, use that if you'd like to reach out.
Yes. And remember, Mother's Day is coming up, so if you'd like to go to Amazon because you forgot and buy something for your mother, you can use our link.
Yes.
And it's an affiliate link, so yeah. I don't want to say what it is. I've already said it multiple times.
I'll say it.
Go ahead and say it.
Amazon.com/shop/cheapgeek.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, I think that's about all we have for this particular episode of the CreepGeeks Podcast. This was episode number 119. Pentagon released UFO videos, Georgia Bigfoot Conference recap, and Western North Carolina UFOs. So check it out. There's a lot of good stuff on that particular website. Skyshipsovercashiers.com. So other than that, that's about all I got.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, no.
Oh, and if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Other than that, see you later. Take it easy. Bye, Sickle.
Bye.
Peanut butter.